This is PJNET.TV, and this is my perspective and comments. In this video segment of My Perspective and Comments, we cover politics, society here and abroad, and the events of the day that are shaping our nation. PJNET.TV, My Perspective and Comment, coming to you with a worldview, one nation under God. Welcome to My Perspective and Comments. And again, folks, we're going to start with updates with the Wuhan, China COVID-19 flu virus and what has been going on. We have been seeing more states kind of lowering their thresholds as far as the lockdowns and the oppressiveness to their residents in a lot of these states. And I'd like to highlight here California. They really are starting to loosen the reins and the curfews and things like that. Of course, I think there might be some incentive for Governor Newsom there in California with the petition to give him the heave-ho, and they are nearing the amount of petition. I believe it's 1.5 million, and they're at about 1.3 million right now, but they're striving to get to 1.8 because of all the shenanigans that could take place when they actually count the petition voters there. So, but it looks like they're going to reach the appropriate number to actually move forward to get rid of Governor Gavin Newsom there in California. Well, one company has dropped out of the vaccine development. Merck's has said with just problems with their results and effectiveness of the vaccine that they were developing, and they've basically stopped and moving on out of or away from developing a vaccine. But there are several companies out there around the world that have vaccines ongoing, and that they have gotten approvals from their governments to start administering and inoculating people. Right now, the United States is in a position where they're in a kind of a lull where the amount of vaccines that's being developed right now is obviously there's a run on vaccines at this point. So they're kind of in the middle of ramping up and continuing to get the millions of doses that's going to be needed to get the United States and the population covered. So they're working on that, and Biden, he's talking about that's one of his priorities, and we'll be getting a little bit more on what's been going on with Biden and some of the things of rolling out and continuing the support what President Trump has started with Operation Warp Speed in getting these vaccines developed and effective and out to the people of the United States. And again, you could see some maneuvering where Biden was going to try and move in and take credit for making things right and smoothly, but we've seen him talking about, well, I'm going to get 1 million a day, vaccinated. Well, basically, President Trump in the latter days of his administration, he was already meeting that number. So you can see the rewriting of history as far as the accomplishments of President Trump in getting these vaccines out there within under 9 months to get a vaccine and people getting inoculated. These lockdowns, we're starting to see more and more states that are loosening up their tyrannical hold on people and shutting businesses down. Now the rhetoric seems to be changing, and as I mentioned last week, I guess there's a different person in the White House, so now everything is all right. We can open up our states and open up our businesses, and we can see how this game is being played. I'd like to, at this point, have us do a quick autopsy of the 2020 election, or a debrief on what happened in this 2020 presidential election, and also ask the question, what happened in Georgia? And we've here on PJNET.TV, in my perspective, we've talked about what may have taken place there in this election, the irregularities, and was this election won squarely, and a lot of irregularities showing up, and a lot of votes and that can't be verified if the person that put the ballot in the envelope was actually the person, the correct person, the actual voter. And right now we see a massive push from these social media, and that are banning any talk about potential fraud or irregularities. They want to wipe that out, and they'll wipe anybody out right now who's interjecting some skepticism for what took place here in the 2020 election. And they're just outright, free speech in America right now is a low priority to these big tech giants, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. The whole gamut there are shutting people down, deplatforming companies, and so forth. And it's really in America this is happening, and you've got other countries around the world, Mexico, talking about what's going on here in America. What happened to free speech? And why are they silencing the president? And taking him off Twitter and Facebook and banning President Trump. Many leaders around the world are calling this out, this banning that's taking place from the social media companies, and now you can look right in Congress and see the same type of blacklisting and wanting to the blacklist and totally wipe out and eliminate people like Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Josh Hawley. So we see a lot of turmoil taking place out there right now. We're seeing Joe Biden. If we look at the president now, I guess the asterisk president, Joe Biden. Record numbers of executive orders. And what are we seeing happening? What the concern was leading up to the election. We're seeing transgender issues in being pushed in society. men going in, being allowed to go in women's restrooms, boys and young men going into in school systems, the girls' locker room and their showers. We're seeing the DC statehood being pushed. We're seeing major talk about job killing proposal. We see executive order, the Keystone Pipeline. And guess what, folks? The gas prices are already, we're seeing them starting to go up. So what we were concerned about and what President Trump was trying to push forward in leading up to the election is happening right there in front of us. Joe Biden pushing these executive orders right in lockstep with the squad, with this Green New Deal. You've got Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, just pushing to have DC statehood and all the other initiatives that's going to weaken and hurt America. And we're seeing it happen right before our eyes. President Trump right now has, this past week, has opened up a office of former president. The office will be responsible for keeping in contact with the American people, being able to make statements about certain things, and scheduling appearances and official activities as a former president, and to carry out those agendas. So we see that moving forward, and it really appears that President Trump will be keeping his hand, on the pulse of what's going on in our country, and that's good. Right now, we're hearing whisperings at 2024, but way too early to start talking about that. So many things could happen, and will Joe Biden actually be in the office of president come that time, or even 2021? So that's still up in the air. But I'd like to back up a step, because I asked a question: what happened? Well, the prime answer was that we never really got to the point of the evidence that had come forward as far as eyewitnesses. They weren't even looked at. Ballots being verified, that who sent the ballot in was actually that they could verify that those ballot they should have had verifications of signatures, and in many states that was lacking, and there was no way to go back, because what's mysteriously happened: open up the envelope, nobody checked to see to verify that, and the envelope's gone. So a lot of these irregularities, but the blaring was that the legislatures in most of these battleground states should have been they should have been the ones that made the changes and signed off on these irregularities when it came to this COVID-related being able to mail in. They never had to say yay or nay. They were sidelined, and they were the governors in many of these states just went around them, and the legislatures were the ones that should have been responsible. And because they weren't in the loop, that's against the law. That's against their state law. But no judge wanted to even go and address that issue. So a lot of these a lot of these things that you're hearing from the lapdogs in the media is, oh, well, what are you talking about? This has all been proven and went to a judge. None of the evidence actually went before a judge. The judge, these judges said, we're not even going to have you bring the case forward. We're not going to hear it. And they summarily dismissed it. So the evidence really never got into the courtroom. But now you've got these so-called news organizations just saying no. I mean, the judge it's already gone to a court. Well, in actuality, it hasn't. So, and I was hoping, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, regarding that January 6th, that we would have gotten at least Senator Cruz and Josh Hawley started down that road to actually have a hearing and to discuss and air some of those concerns, irregularities, and what was out there. And, well, the rest is, what took place there at the Capitol. And when that happened, when that attack happened, it took all that momentum, and no one wanted to even continue on to take a look and really air out and the potential problems with that election. So again, that was disappointing, and so it's left in a state of social media are banning people that are even talking about irregularities and potential vote fraud in this election. And we also have these two senators, Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz, that they want to oust them out of Congress. So it's not going to go anywhere. And just like the impeachment issue. Georgia, what happened there? What happened in Georgia? I've heard some people talking and discussing this, and I think there was a vote that was taken before that election, and Mitch McConnell was right in the middle, and it was about the $2,000 for Americans that were dealing with that bill that was out there for a relief, COVID relief. And President Trump, in the process, said, well, we should extend $2,000 to families. They need it. But we should also get rid of this transgender to Taiwan or these other countries, hundreds of millions of dollars going to address transgender issues. And President Trump said that should not take place. Well, if you look what actually happened, Mitch McConnell stepped in and said, no, we're not going to go $2,000. We're going to go the $600 route. And they never addressed pulling all those hundreds of million for transgender issues. So that could have been one of the results of here the American people that have been struggling for almost a year, but they can give all these hundreds of millions to these other countries, and the American people are left with that $600. So that could have been one reason why some stayed home on the Republicans voters that stayed home. And the other thing that were keeping people discouraged in staying home is that nobody really addressed getting to the bottom of the vote fraud and these mail-in ballots. They didn't address it. They didn't correct it when they saw that there were issues. So it was running the same election procedure for the Georgia election for those 2 seats. And what took place? Well, we have 2 Democrats that won the Georgia races. So that may have been, there could have been, again, some fraud. I also heard that Kemp Governor Kemp seemed to almost be working with Stacey Abrams regarding, or Kemp not really putting the pressure down and saying, hey, wait a minute, there could be some issues here, Stacey, with all these ballots that you've collected, and we can't go down this road that took place in the general election. But he didn't. It was almost a truce, maybe, between the two. Just some things that I've heard that might have taken place is that, and again, Kemp could have brought the legislature in and made the corrections that needed to be made to make it a legal, above board, transparent election there in Georgia. That didn't happen. So now we're faced with, there's talk right now that the filibuster might be, Mitch McConnell, I guess, has, as I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, that I thought that Joe Manchin, Virginia senator, had kind of put out there. He's a Democrat there, but he's not for the eliminating the filibuster. And I understand that Sinema there in Arizona is also going to be joining, and she's a Democrat there, joining Manchin to put a halt to that. So there are some things right now where we have these 2 Democratic senators that will be voting with the Republicans, but to leave it up to those 2 to with all the other issues that are going on. As I had mentioned before, the DC statehood and the Keystone Pipeline, the transgender orders, so many things right now that Biden and the Democrats are pushing. That are they going to join the Republicans in trying to put a halt on a lot of this other stuff out there? Probably not. There's going to be some things that they're going to join with the Democrats to sign on to. So a lot of things that are taking place, and right now we're in the middle of watching Joe Biden signing these executive orders in breaking records in doing so. Well, I'd like to talk about, when it comes to the impeachment and what's been taking place here. Once again, we see these rabid Democrats trying to go after and take, it's really not even taking down the president. He's no longer a president. And I'm wondering, folks, in this year, especially in the next 2 years, are we going to see some Republican leaders step forward? We know that President Trump has been carrying the weight on his shoulders to fight against the crazy left, and with the Green New Deal and socialism, communism being pushed, and President Trump has been taking all those arrows and pushing back against it. But are we going to see any Republican stand up and say, no, enough? Well, at this point, I'd like us to take a take a look here, a video look at someone who is standing up, and I just wanted to shout out and give some kudos to. And I'm hoping that more Republicans will say enough, stand up, get vocal, and push back against these rabid left. And I'd like us to take a look at during the start of this this impeachment against President Trump for the so-called incitement. That's what the charges that they're bringing against former President Trump. We had a senator stand up and call these the liberals out on what they were doing, and showing step by step the hypocrisy that these liberals are pushing, trying to bring charges to. He's not even in the office, but they're still trying to go after Trump. And let's be honest, folks, they don't want to see President Trump anywhere near the White House and running for the presidency in 2024. So they want to do anything they can to make it so that he can't even run. And that's what I think their end game is. But again, let's take a look at finally a Republican leader standing up and pushing back, other than President Trump. We had Rand Paul, proud of Rand and what he did, and how succinct, clear, and to the point he was against what was taking place and what they're trying to do with this incitement impeachment. So here, folks, take a listen and watch Rand Paul address what's taking place there, trying to impeach former President Trump. Take a look.